Hello everybody, this is Fred Stewart again with Stewart Group Realty, and I am very, very, very happy to be out here today spending some time with Kerry Greenwald? Greenwald. I always mess up your name, Kerry. With Kerry, I've known for, gosh, now 14, 15 years. One of the best experts I've ever come across about the VA loan, and that's what this video is going to be about today, everybody, is the VA loan. Kerry, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Fred.
How, well, first off, Kerry, I got to tell you, thank you for taking your time out of your day to do this video.
Oh, absolutely. Enjoyable.
Kerry, how long have you been in this industry?
See, a couple months short of 20 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, I know your prior service. You were in the Army?
I was in the Army Reserves for 8 years.
Outstanding.
Yep, I was at E4.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
What made you decide to do VA loans?
I kind of got into it for my father. He started the idea in the program with another agent about servicing veterans after they got out of the military and going through and doing it. I came into the business in 1997, going through and doing VA at that time. Just something, doing VA, working with fellow veterans, it's just a enjoyable moment, having commonality with what other veterans out there have done and been part of that same thing, signing our name on the line, risking our life to go through and do it, and then now to be able to go back and serve them and help them through this product. It's been very enjoyable.
Well, Kerry, one of the reasons why I wanted to come out here and talk to you is, one, I've never met anybody in the industry. I've been in this industry, in the real estate industry, since 1988, and I've never met anybody that understands the VA loan better than you. I think I've referred you to at least 50 times. I think about 10 people I know have closed with you, and everybody says the same thing, how much they enjoyed working with you and how much they learned throughout the entire process.
Yeah, well, customer service is very important to us, and as of January this year, we closed our 4,000 VA loan that I've been in this business. So it's been something that, you keep learning something new every day about VA and how it works.
Now vets, before we get into everything, one of the reasons why I'm making this video is specifically for you. It hurts my heart to come across a person who was willing to put their life on the line for our country, whether you saw combat or not, and not have their own home to live in. I think every vet deserves their own home. So if you're a veteran or know a veteran, spend a little time with us and watch this video and learn why the VA loan is not just a good tool, but I feel it's a privilege that every veteran in the United States should take advantage of. Okay, now first off, Kerry, what does a person have to do to be qualified for a VA loan?
So there's two parts to the qualification of a VA loan. The first part is using their DD-214, NGB-22, or point letter if they were in the reserves to become eligible to get their certificate of eligibility. Once you receive your certificate of eligibility, it has the amount that you're approved up to $224,500. After that takes place, we then use their credit. We use their income, their past income, everything else is calculated together to find out where they're eligible and how much they can go through and afford on a house. The VA is just stepping in and guaranteeing that money. So now we have to qualify them at an institution or a bank to go through and be able to get that financing set up.
Now, let me ask you this. This is something that doesn't come up very often when people think about VA loans. Is there a different qualification for a active duty service person and a reserve service person? Because we got some people who've had long careers active duty, and we've got people who've had long careers as a reservist.
Yes.
Is there a difference in those two directions?
There is a difference. So anyone that was on active duty pays a lesser amount in their VA funding fee. They pay a 2.15% on their first time use and a 3.3% on their second time. A reservist or National Guard member that was never on active duty, not counting AIT or basic training, if they weren't activated for 120 plus days in a combat situation, which we've been there since 2001, so if they've been activated for 120 days, they would also then be eligible for full active duty, which they would pay the 2.15. But if not, it's 2.4% is what their fee is that they pay to the VA and their funding fee. It's not paid out of pocket, but it's financed on top of whatever loan they're going through and doing.
Outstanding. Now, when a person comes to you for a VA application, what are the basics that you need for them to bring with them?
Well, most of when we first meet with someone, it's that first, getting together meeting. Paperwork and stuff that's involved, we definitely need their documentation of them being in the military, which the standard you would hear would be DD-214 for anyone that was on active duty. Anyone that was only in the National Guard, it would be an NGB-22 upon their separation, which shows how long they were in and that they got under good status. Anyone in the Army Reserves or any reserve component, it's called a point letter that they would go through and get. If they're still on active duty, either Reserves, National Guard, or active duty, they would actually have a statement of service, which would come from their inline command that would state that they're still in good status and what their rank is and what they currently stand. Those documentations would be packaged together, would be sent off to VA to get their certificate of eligibility and start that process being approved VA. Once they are approved to the VA, they're approved pretty much forever. It does need to be updated occasionally, especially if there's a discharge point involved to make sure you're still in good standing with the VA.
Now, you have to be honorably discharged in order to qualify, right?
You do. There are exceptions to that rule. There are exceptions. They don't really label exactly what those are, but we have turned in for circumstances where people were dismissed from the military under what title they were released at, have still been eligible. There are medical releases in a short term of being through basic training, and some even during AIT that did not serve the length of period of time, that we sent off a request and actually still got a certificate of eligibility where they could still purchase and didn't think they could.
So you hit on a very good point that I bring up with a lot of borrowers. They should always not just assume.
Never assume.
They should come down and talk to a professional like you and get the real skinny, as we used to say in the Marines, get the real deal. Because what they might not understand is they assume that they may not qualify, or they very well may qualify.
Yeah, and we've had numerous people that have gotten multiple other loans, FHAs, and throughout their lifetime thought they were never eligible for VA, came to us and we said, hey, let's just send this off to the VA and find out what they come back and what they say. And we sent that off, and lo and behold, we got a certificate of eligibility, that they're entitled, they're eligible to go through and do VA. So assuming or not looking at that is something we should never do. We should always take the time to go through and find out. It doesn't cost anything to order a certificate of eligibility. It doesn't cost anything to find out where you stand, financially and be an affordability to buy a house. So always, we encourage people. I would say honestly, Fred, that probably 80% of the people we talk to, it's sitting down with them and just giving them advice. They're not even in a position where they can buy right now, but it's being that place they can call where someone will listen to them on the other end and take the time to work with them to get them to the point of home ownership, and not just be about selling or their credit scores are low or anything else. We take the time to go through and put them eventually in position to get the loan. I feel that's my duty as a fellow veteran, and everyone that works in my company's prior service too, that I strive for all of us on customer service at the utmost to make sure we treat everybody with that benefit to go through and find out if they are eligible or what they have to do to be able to get that house.
Now, Kerry, I'm going to ask you another question about something that scares everybody. Everybody who wants to buy a home, this is almost universally the first thing they're worried about, even when they have nothing to worry about. What is the minimum credit score you need to qualify for a VA loan? And also, I have to add another.
Right.
Does VA look at credit any different than any other loan?
So in the VA manual, it's been the same way forever. VA is not derived on credit score. VA never has been based on credit score. It became, everything got a little crazy in 2006, 2007. It's called investor overlays, where individual banks came through and started a standard where your credit had to be able to go through and achieve a loan. VA would look at alternative credit, would be able to go through and establish that you paid certain bills on time, rent, and everything else to be able to get it. Those times are coming back again. People are going, investor overlays are leaving the system. They're going back to exactly what it says in the VA manual, where it's not based on credit score, it's based on credit worthiness of the individual. So ideally, we're still that 600 score you can go through and do. I've done many loans with no score. I've done many loans with very low scores in situations. Most of the time, Fred, we'll sit down with people and show them how to improve their credit. Or if it's something out of their control, we can go through and make exceptions, going directly to the VA and get a credit authorization based on what their standards are and good credit worthy.
Now, what's the lowest credit score that you can remember that you've ever closed on a VA loan?
Well, no score would be the lowest score.
Okay, next lowest.
I have
What were the
more
numbers?
success with no score than the lowest. My lowest I've seen, we've got a 561 that we were able to go through and get financing, and it was circumstances beyond their control of what drove their score to that level. It was very common 7, 8, 9 years ago that we would, their score didn't matter. 500 you can go through and get approved. I believe, Fred, those days are coming again. With the stuff that's been loosened up on the lending side of things, they're looking more not just at a number, but the individual. What have they done? What's caused the circumstances that have happened? And I think the score is going to be less and less the apparent factor of them issuing a loan. It's more about common sense. What's caused the individual to have the score. Now we still, Fred, will go through and capture someone that has that lower score, and we'll give them advice on what they can go through to improve their score or raise their score to give them more options on banks. We happened many times where someone says, well, I'd like to wait 6 months and improve my credit. They can do certain things to go through and be able to get to that point.
Kerry, you've hit on something that I think I want to make sure everybody who's watching this video remembers. Please take the time to sit down and get information. Don't assume anything. That's why one of the reasons why I'm doing this video. If you're a veteran and you're not quite sure you qualify, the easiest way to find out whether or not you can qualify is to call somebody like Kerry. Sit down. Matter of fact, call Kerry because he's the one that we're doing this video with. But sit down with Kerry. Allow him to do something that he's done over 4,000 times. I mean, he's closed 4,000 loans, and you've probably taken 10,000 applications.
Yes.
So your situation it's unique to you, but it's not going to be unique to him. I guarantee you, just like in the military, I don't know if any of you guys remember that far back, but you remember when your sergeant used to say, there is nothing in your life that the U.S. government has never seen before. I would take that same advice when it comes to deciding to get a loan, especially a VA loan. So I'd call Kerry up and would sit down and let him consult you through this process. Now, Kerry, there's one thing I want to bring up too about, there's two other things before we close this out that I want to bring up that a lot of people don't know about VA loans that VA allows people to do. The first one is you can actually have 2 homes on a VA loan. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
A lot of people don't know that.
No.
Now, what is the situation that allows that?
So we're coming across that more and more often where people have bought a VA house, their interest rates were so low, their payment on so low, and they're looking at that as, I don't really want to refinance that, I want to turn that into a rental house, but yet I want to take my eligibility and go buy another house. It's called a partial eligibility. So we would take their certificate of eligibility and act it with that property on it and find out how much entitlement they have left. In most cases we're coming through, it's well with what they want to go through and buy and be able to go out and buy another VA house. We have some occasions where they want to buy a little bit more of a house than what their eligibility is. They have to put a small down payment down in order to be able to do another VA loan that way. But yes, Fred, you can have more than one VA at a time, and we're seeing it more and more common. I think last year we had 12 encounters where people were buying second VA homes, and if I went back 10 years prior, I would say I didn't see any. So it's something that's coming back, but we hear it all the time when people walk in our doors saying, oh, I was only told I can use my VA loan once. Or I was only told I can have only one VA at a time. You can use your VA over and over and over. My record now, I have one individual that's done it his 19th time in his life. He's had 19 VA loans in his lifetime. We have had other people, like I said, have bought a secondary VA house and gone through and have done it. So yes, you can.
Now friends, you may think, well, why would somebody want a secondary house on VA? There's a lot of reasons for it. One would be you want to rent the other unit out to a close family member, like a mother or father, or a child or a brother or sister who needs a little help. You may want to have a house closer to your grandkids or closer to where you work. So this is a great situation, great opportunity for you, and I would definitely sit down with Kerry and get more information about how to do it if you think it's something that's going to benefit you. Now the other one I want to talk about is something that's not talked about a lot either when it comes to VA loans, and that is the vet, non-vet VA loan. Very rare, because most people don't know about it. But it is possible for a veteran to buy a home with a non-vet using the VA loan. And from my memory, right, it has to be a family member.
Yeah, direct family.
A direct family member, so blood relative or a spouse. Can't be your best friend or can't be your boss.
Yeah.
You know, your boss can't say, hey, you got a VA loan, let's go buy a house together so I can live in it. Can't be anything like that. Kerry, what are the qualifications for that?
So you can buy a house with another vet to vet can go through and purchase a home, where they can use both their eligibility to go through and do it. And then the really rare case, you can actually do a non-vet. This would be a child of yours, a parent in some situations where you want to go through, and it's more and more common that people are coming back together and actually buying more of a house and be able to go through and do it together. The VA loan's designed where it's guaranteeing whatever bank that's doing that loan 25% of what that asset is. So what the VA is basically doing is an insurance policy. They're putting 25% on top of that asset. So they're going through and doing it. So when you have a vet and you have a non-vet, you got to make up 12.5%. The veteran would go through and pay half of the eligibility on the house. The child or parent, whoever's buying it with them that's a non-vet, would make up 12.5% down. That could be gift money to go through and buy the house together. They would both be on title, they would both own the house together. If you're doing it vet to vet, where dad's a vet and son's a vet or daughter's a vet doing it together, you would use both their eligibility. There would be no down payment in that situation. There are rare cases where there's 3 levels, where there's 2 veterans and a non-veteran all buying a house together. We've seen that on triplexes, we've seen that on duplexes, we've seen that on different units where people have gone through and have done that, and yes, you are able to go through. It is a little bit more complex. It's not only done at the VA level, only done at the lender level, but it's actually done at the VA, where it's actually underwritten by the VA first and then set secondary to one of the lenders. It will take about 2 weeks longer to close, and I will spend a little bit of time on that, Fred. We're about, right now, VA's caught up, especially in the Portland metro area, where right now we're about 25 days on closing VA transactions, which has been a big deal, because it got a little bit of a bad rep here at the end of last year. The volume was so high. There wasn't enough appraisers. The appraisers were going to where the money was, and they were leaving VA. That's gone away too now, Fred. The VA's raised the amount of what it costs to do an appraisal, which we look at that as maybe being a negative, but it actually ends up being a positive because it sped up the process a lot quicker. So we can actually close a VA faster than you can do any other type of loan. So it's been a big deal also.
Outstanding. Kerry, I want to thank you again for taking the time today to explain to us about the VA loan.
Yes.
Can we do this again?
Absolutely. I love doing these. Education is everything for all of us veterans out there to know what we have and what we're able to do. It's so important.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted everybody to meet you. You've always been a good educator. I've learned a lot today. I've always learned a lot from you every time I've talked to you about a VA loan. Nobody I've ever worked with in the 29 years I've been in real estate knows as much about VA as Kerry, just flat out.
Thank you.
I don't even argue with him. So everybody, thank you for your time watching this video today. Kerry, once again, thank you for being out here.
Yes.
Kerry, what is your phone number?
So they can call our main line here at the office, which is 360-571-LOAN, which is 5626. Ask for me, anyone on my team, or anyone in my company. We're all prior service, so it's all based around veterans helping veterans, and I would probably say about between 92 to 95% of our overall business is VA, or working with veterans. Sometimes we'll do different types of loans for unique situations for veterans, but VA is our passion. I mean, VA is what we love to go through and we love to do. Veterans mean a lot to us. We love to take that extra time with them.
And what is your email address?
You can email me at Kerry, Kerry, at Creekside, Creeksidem, M as in mortgage.com. Kerry at creeksidem.com.
Great. Everybody, I hope this has been very entertaining and beneficial for you, as well as educational. I want to leave with you again to not assume too much in this market. A lot of things are changing. Sit down with a professional and ask questions. Allow them to educate you on your situation. And good luck. This is Fred Stewart, Stewart Group Realty out. I will see you soon.